The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday afternoon, the kind of spring storm that turns parking lots into mirrors and sends everyone rushing for cover. Sarah Mitchell had worked at Henderson's Market for 3 years now, and she'd seen her share of weather. At 28, with her blonde hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, she wore the store's bright red polo shirt with quiet pride. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was honest, and she believed in doing it well. Her shift had ended 10 minutes ago, but Sarah never rushed out the door. She liked to help straighten the carts, make sure the elderly customers made it safely to their cars. Her mother had raised her that way, back in their small Indiana town. "Kindness doesn't cost a thing," her mother used to say, "but it's worth everything." That's when she heard it. A sound that cut through the drumming rain. A child crying. Not the frustrated whine of a toddler denied candy, but real distress. Sarah's head turned sharply toward the parking lot. There, between 2 dark SUVs, she saw a little girl. The child couldn't have been more than 3 years old, wearing a pink dress that was already soaked through. Her blonde curls clung to her face as she clutched a stuffed white rabbit, tears streaming down her cheeks. Without thinking, Sarah ran into the rain. Her practical shoes splashed through puddles as she reached the child and knelt down, heedless of the water soaking through her black pants. "Hey there, sweetheart," Sarah said softly, her voice gentle despite the pounding rain. "Are you lost?" The little girl looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes and nodded. She was shivering, and Sarah immediately wrapped her arms around the child, trying to shelter her from the storm. "It's okay, honey. You're safe now. Can you tell me your name?" "Emma," the child whispered, her small voice barely audible over the rain. "That's a beautiful name, Emma. I'm Sarah. Let's get you somewhere dry and find your mommy or daddy, okay?" Emma nodded again, and Sarah lifted her carefully, holding her close. The stuffed rabbit was wedged between them, and Sarah made sure not to let it fall. She knew how important such things were to little ones. Her own niece had a blanket she wouldn't part with for anything. As Sarah turned toward the store, she noticed a sleek black limousine parked several spaces away. The windows were tinted dark, but she could feel someone watching. Still, her priority was the child in her arms, so she hurried toward the store's entrance. Inside, the warmth wrapped around them. Emma's shivering began to ease, though tears still rolled down her cheeks. The store manager, a kind woman named Patricia, rushed over with towels. "What happened?" Patricia asked, her face creased with concern. "Found her alone in the parking lot," Sarah explained, gently drying Emma's hair. "Sweetheart, do you know where your daddy is?" Emma's lip quivered. I couldn't find him. I was looking at the flowers outside, and then he was gone." Sarah's heart squeezed. She knew that panic, that terrible moment when a child realizes they're alone. "It's not your fault, Emma. Sometimes these things happen. Your daddy is probably looking everywhere for you right now." Patricia was already making an announcement over the store's PA system, describing Emma and asking her parents to come to the customer service desk. Sarah sat down on the bench near the entrance, keeping Emma close. She dried the stuffed rabbit carefully with another towel. "Is this your special friend?" she asked. Emma nodded, clutching the toy tighter. "Mr. Hops. Daddy gave him to me." "Mr. Hops is very lucky to have you taking care of him," Sarah said warmly. "My niece has a bunny too. His name is Cotton." Despite her tears, Emma managed a small smile. Sarah kept talking softly, telling her gentle stories, helping the fear fade from those young eyes. It reminded her why she loved this simple job. These moments of connection, of being there when someone needed help, they mattered more than any fancy career. The automatic doors whooshed open, and a man burst into the store. He was tall, maybe in his mid-30s, with dark hair slicked back from the rain. His expensive suit was soaked, his face etched with panic and relief all at once. "Emma!" His voice cracked as he saw his daughter. "Daddy!" Emma squirmed in Sarah's arms, reaching for him. The man rushed over and swept Emma up, holding her so tight it looked like he'd never let go. His eyes were wet, and Sarah couldn't tell if it was rain or tears. "Thank God," he whispered into Emma's hair. "Thank God you're safe." Sarah stood quietly, giving them their moment. Patricia handed the man a towel, but he barely noticed, too focused on his daughter. After a long minute, he looked up at Sarah. His gray eyes were red-rimmed but intense. "You found her?" Sarah nodded. She was in the parking lot between some cars. She was scared. "But she's all right." The man set Emma down gently, keeping one hand on her shoulder, and extended his other hand to Sarah. "Michael Donovan," he said. I don't know how to thank you." His grip was firm, and Sarah could feel him trembling slightly. "Sarah Mitchell." Really, anyone would have done the same. "No." Michael shook his head firmly. Not everyone would have run into a storm for a child they didn't know. Not everyone would have... His voice broke, and he paused, collecting himself. "We were shopping. I turned around for just a second to grab something from a high shelf, and when I looked back, she was gone. I've been searching everywhere. I was about to call the police." Sarah saw the guilt in his face, the self-recrimination every parent feels when something goes wrong, even for a moment. "Children move fast," she said kindly. "What matters is she's safe now." Michael looked at her for a long moment, then glanced at her name tag and the red polo shirt. "You work here?" 3 years, Sarah said with a slight smile. "Best job I've ever had. I get to help people every day." There was something in her simple statement that seemed to affect Michael deeply. He looked at his daughter, then back at Sarah. "I was watching from my car," he admitted quietly. "When you ran out into that rain, when you held her like she was your own, I saw something I haven't seen in a long time." Sarah tilted her head slightly, curious. "Genuine kindness," Michael continued. "No hesitation. No thought of reward, just goodness." He paused. "I'm ashamed to say I sat there for a moment, testing, I suppose, wondering what you would do. Would you bring her inside? Would you keep her safe? And you did." Without question, Sarah felt her cheeks warm. "Mr. Donovan, I really just did what anyone—" "Please, call me Michael." He knelt down to Emma's level. "Sweetheart, what do we say to Miss Sarah?" Emma stepped forward and wrapped her small arms around Sarah's legs. "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for keeping Mr. Hops dry." Sarah's eyes misted as she bent down and hugged the little girl back. "You're so very welcome, Emma." Michael stood, and Sarah noticed him reach into his jacket pocket. "Please let me—" "No," Sarah said gently but firmly. "I don't want any reward. Seeing her safe with you, that's more than enough." Michael looked surprised, then something softened in his face. "My wife," he said quietly, "Emma's mother. She passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. Since then, it's just been Emma and me, trying to figure out this life together." Sarah's hand went to her heart. "I'm so sorry." "She would have liked you," Michael said, and his voice was warm now, not sad. "She always said the measure of a person was what they did when no one was watching. But I was watching, Sarah, and what I saw was someone my daughter deserves to know." He pulled out a business card and a pen, writing something on the back. "I own a consulting firm downtown. But that's not why I'm giving you this. On the back, I've written my personal number. Emma and I would like to take you to dinner sometime, not as payment, but as friends, if you'd like." Sarah took the card, feeling a strange flutter of emotion. It had been a long time since she'd made a new friend. "I'd like that," she said softly. Emma tugged on her father's hand. "Can Miss Sarah come to my birthday party?" "It's in 3 weeks. I'm going to be 4. Michael smiled, truly smiled, and Sarah saw the weariness lift from his face. "Would you?" he asked. "It would mean the world to us." Sarah looked at this little girl with her blonde curls and her stuffed rabbit, at this father who was trying so hard to be enough for his daughter, and felt something click into place in her heart. "I would be honored," she said. As Michael and Emma prepared to leave, now with an umbrella Patricia had provided, Emma turned back one more time. "You're my hero," she said simply. Sarah watched them walk to the limousine through the still-falling rain, the father holding his daughter's hand so carefully, so protectively. She thought about her mother's words, about kindness not costing anything but being worth everything. 3 weeks later, Sarah stood in Michael's backyard, watching Emma blow out 4 candles on a princess cake. She'd met Michael's parents, Emma's grandparents, who lived across town. She'd learned that Michael had built his business from nothing, working 3 jobs to put himself through college. She'd discovered they both loved old movies and quiet Sundays. But more than that, she'd found a family that needed her as much as she needed them. Sometimes, her mother used to say, angels come disguised as ordinary moments. A rainy afternoon, a lost child, a choice to stop and help. Sarah had never thought of herself as anyone special, just a grocery clerk who believed in doing the right thing. But as Emma ran over and grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the birthday games, Sarah understood something profound. We're all special to someone. We're all exactly where we need to be. And sometimes the most important thing we'll ever do is simply notice when someone needs us and choose to care. The rain had stopped weeks ago, but its blessing remained. In the laughter of a little girl who'd found a friend, in the gratitude of a father who'd found hope, in the full heart of a young woman who'd simply run into a storm because it was the right thing to do. That's all any of us can do, really. Show up, care, be kind. The rest takes care of itself.